Segundo Times, that is a mental asylum. They ought to put up razor wire around the whole building because the LA Times editorial board, which is completely unhinged. I mean, this is mental illness. Wrote an editorial that I kept reading over and over again because I couldn't believe it. They made the case why we should recall Gavin Newsom and then told us not to do it.
Yes, people are angry and frustrated and fed up with where we find ourselves as a state.
At the beginning, they write, there are Californians who would prefer to replace Gavin Newsom with Larry Elder, John Cox, Kevin Kiley, or some other Republican because they prefer right-wing ideology that those candidates represent. Well, there's a lot of reasons to vote for those guys that have nothing to do with right-wing ideology, but let that go for a minute.
Well, they're just pointing out one segment of the voters will be that group, and that's true.
Yeah.
But now they want to talk about everybody else.
But there aren't enough of those Californians for the recall to succeed. If it does, it will be because they're joined by voters of all stripes who might be indifferent to Newsom, but are angry, frustrated, and fed up with where we find ourselves as a state. They may see voting yes on the recall as a way to vote no on the onslaught of emergencies and disasters we have faced over the last year and a half. They seek to register a loud vote against COVID-19, lockdowns, school closures, social distancing, homelessness, wildfires, heat waves, criminal justice reform, violent protests, water restrictions, and dinners at the French Laundry.
That's a pretty good list of why you should go.
They may be weary of police brutality, but also of police defunding. Tired of racial inequality, but also the rhetoric of racial justice. Tired of global warming, but also of lectures about it. Yeah, you think? They may want to blow up the whole mess and let someone else reassemble it. Throw the bums out and stick it to the Democratic Party, which has held every statewide office in California and a supermajority in the legislature for years and hasn't managed to solve the state's most pressing problems.
Good arguments for the recall.
That's brilliant stuff. It's absolutely right. And Newsom is intimately involved with every single one of those issues. Either he caused those problems or he exacerbated those problems. But we plead with voters not to take a cavalier attitude. Don't vote yes on the recall out of pique or the vague belief that something different, no matter what, will be something better. Wait, what are you talking about? You just went through all the list of things that people are upset about. They're tired of the lockdowns. They weren't necessary. The school closures were disastrous to kids. The social distancing was fanatical.
They're making the Trump drain the swamp argument that didn't work, so don't try it this time.
Homelessness, oh my God, it's gone up exponentially since Newsom took office. Look at San Francisco before he was mayor. Look at it now. The wildfires are fed by bad state policy. Criminal justice reform? You mean Gascon letting out all the prisoners? Newsom letting out all the prisoners?
And then they throw in a grand one. What about the California economy? In a year in which many states saw their operating budgets tank, California had a mind-boggling surplus of $80 billion. Let's examine that more carefully.
That all came from Joe Biden.
And from very wealthy taxpayers who reap the benefits of a great stock market despite the pandemic. That's it. We just said this the other day. We're like the third worst in the unemployment rate. We still had an increase in unemployment claims last week. There's a lot of poor and middle-class people in this state that fell much further behind. The state, once again, is held up by a minority of wealthy taxpayers. Again, 104,000 taxpayers, get this, pay half the state income tax. Half. Just 104,000 people.
And they blame everything on the pandemic. Homelessness is up in part because of the pandemic? No. It's because people come by the thousands from all over the country.
It was ugly before the pandemic. Prop 47 made that happen.
But they've used the COVID-19 as an all-purpose cover story. It says here violent crime rose because of the social disruption of the pandemic. No, it's because the police were told not to arrest anybody anymore. We shamed the police out of the neighborhoods where a lot of the crimes are committed. What are these people talking about? They're insane.
Then here it is again. The proper time to consider replacing Newsom is next year when he'll seek a second full term. Not now. Not with a war against COVID going on. Wow.
What does he do for COVID?
I have no idea. Have you seen those commercials, though, where he acts like he's saving the state? They show people in hospital beds.
The virus surge has come back 3 times. After he shut down outdoor dining last November, we had the biggest surge of them all. But he doesn't know anything. He can't stop anything. This is crazy talk. These people are insane.
Do you know, I just found this. A day later, they put out another editorial. You know what the headline is?
What?
For the sake of the planet, don't remove California's governor. It's a climate change argument to keep Newsom.
For the sake of the planet,
now the planet's at stake.
We're one of the worst states in the nation at reducing greenhouse gases. Last I saw, we were 41st. And all those fires, that's all greenhouse gases going into the air.
And we're a fraction of the world's output anyway.
What do you do when the biggest newspaper in the state just lies? Just out-and-out lies from top to bottom about everything. They just lie. They're crazy people. I wouldn't even read this, except it was so outrageous. It's like, here are 10 reasons to recall Newsom, but don't do it.
All right, we got more coming up.
No defense of him, by the way, in this thing. No defense. The whole purpose is, well, no, everybody else would be worse. John and Ken, KFI.